Jersey's own Zach Gelb.
Or maybe it's Pennsylvania. Anyhow, it's one of the two, I'm pretty sure.
The Zach Gelb Show continues
On Fox Sports 920, The Jersey.
All right, welcome back in. 4:15 is the time from the Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios. The wait is finally over. I can't remember the last time basketball was played. These playoffs have been a dud, but we've had a long layoff until the NBA Finals. But Game 1 will get going tonight, and hopefully it is worth the wait as it's round 3 between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors, and it will commence tonight at Oracle Arena. Now joining us, someone that played for the Cavaliers back in 1986 to 1993. That, of course, is Craig Ehlo, who's kind enough to hop on board with us right now to the Zach Gelb Show. Craig, appreciate a few minutes. Thanks for the time, my friend, and how are you?
I'm doing great, and sure privileged to be on with you today.
Well, thank you so much, and I'll tell you, you actually got my attention going in a different direction away from basketball. So let's open up with this. You told me yesterday you were mowing your big lawn in the palatial estate of the Ehlo residence. Tell me about that big house you got.
Oh, well, I had a great-grandfather that always told me all of his grandkids to buy land, and because they can't take that away from you, and you can always work on it. So I took his advice. He had a 200-acre farm in my hometown of Lubbock, Texas, that grew cotton. I'm growing wheat in about 120, but I live on about 5 of it, and I thought I was being smart, having a big backyard with grass and stuff, because I had 2 boys that needed to run off a lot of energy. But now, boy, it's catching up with me. They're gone, and I'm the only one that has to mow it.
It's a pain in the ass. You know, Pop's got to mow that lawn each and every day.
Oh, but, hey, kudos to John Deere. I got that electric static thing. I hum on it, and it scares me because it's got a roll bar on it, and you can get going pretty fast, but it is so fun to mow. That's probably the best thing. They got that for me for Father's Day a couple of years ago.
You know the negative perception with just Cleveland and all their sports franchises, and this has changed in the last few years with the Cavs having LeBron come back, go to 3 straight finals, which will start tonight, and then also what the Indians are able to do with baseball. Just what has this run been like as someone that played for the Cavaliers to see this team not only go to 3 straight finals, but win it last year, especially with the circumstances of being down 3-1?
Oh, that was incredible. History was made, and LBJ staked his claim as probably the greatest player to ever play for what he did in that series. And the series before that, with Kyrie going out in the first game, LeBron did all he could to help him in that series. But Cleveland, we had a song that they played before each game. It's a hard-working town and a hard-working team. And that's exactly what they are. It's a blue-collar town. There's factories and workers. They bring their lunch pail and their hard hats to work, and that's exactly what the teams kind of emulated, starting with the Browns in the 60s with Jim Brown and everybody that, they had that championship run with those guys on the Browns. So it's a great sports town because they love their major professional sports teams, and they will live with you and they will die with you. So they bleed whatever color it's out there when their team's on the court. So that's what it's like. I just know they really appreciated having us. And, we could never get past the Bulls, and we had a great team that people loved to watch, but we just never had that extra hump to get over and past those guys, but they still supported us.
You were just talking about LeBron's greatness, and a lot of people forget the first final appearance and what he did with basically no help since everyone was hurt. Just rank to me in order from 5 to 1 your 5 greatest players of all time, Craig.
Well, I love Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, and that's a tie for me. Those 2 guys are equal, and that HBO thing they did on him really demonstrates that. But then I got Michael Jordan. He's definitely up there. I got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and I would have to go with, I guess, I didn't see him play, but he's got all those championships, Bill Russell.
And you think LeBron's the greatest player of all time from what you said a few moments ago, right?
I do. I think the game evolves. Athletes get better. Training changes, the way that they do stuff. And there's going to be somebody out there right now that's going to be taking LeBron's throne as far as I know, because that's just the way it is. The game evolves and the players evolve with it, and it goes and it just keeps getting better. Everybody asks me what's the biggest difference of playing when I played from the 80s to the 90s to the teams now, and I just think it's athleticism. I think the first option is these guys can go to the hole or pull up, and so that's the first option. All these guys can do that. Our option was running a break, a set break, number break, whatever you want to call it, and getting open by using the ball movement and pretty much like every guy touching it. So I think LeBron, he's a student of the game. He loves the history of the game, and he still wants to, give all kudos and accolades to the guys that come before him. And I think he is. I think he can do it all. He can lead. He's got the charisma. He's got the intelligence. And he just spreads all of that around when he's on the floor. And that's what I think makes him the greatest player. Just, the stats prove to, what he does for every time he gets on the court. So, I think a lot of guys will measure guys by how many rings they have as the greatest players. But I think LeBron, he's only got 3, but he's not done yet.
What's your relationship like with the King?
The first time I saw him, I was lucky and fortunate enough to, when Nike kind of changed their camps around, my head coach in college, George Raveling, took over that program, and he changed it, and I was able to work the Nike Skills Academies. And the last one, we had like Kobe Bryant on the West Coast, and then we had like a big guys camp, and then we had Vince Carter in Orlando for wings, and then they all came together at the end in Akron, of all places. That's where LeBron wanted to have it because that's his hometown. So I walked into the gym early that morning, and I thought, because I was going to be the first one out there because I took the early bus, but he was out there working out, and he had his shirt off, and he was just huge, and he had chosen one on the back from one shoulder blade to the other shoulder blade in about 6-inch block letters, and that's how big he was. And to my surprise, I was in awe. I was going to go up to him and say, "Hey, LeBron, Craig Ehlo, I really like what you're doing. I think you're going to be a great player." I had my speech all made out, and he was like, "Ehlo, come over here." And I was just shocked. And then he talked about all the teams that are the games that he saw, that he watched when I was playing with the Cavs. So that blew me right off of the floor. And he was so generous and kind. My son was there. He was just in awe. He gave, and he's just a personality that has just everybody involved. From the guy that's sweeping the broom to the guy that's, a coach that's there watching like Krzyzewski or somebody. So I think he's got it all. And like I said, he's a student of the game, but more so he's a historian of the game. He knows everything about the past, and I think that's what he thinks has made him who he is.
Craig Ehlo with us right now on the Zach Gelb Show as we get ready for Game 1 of the NBA Finals, Round 3 between the Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors tonight at Oracle Arena. Let's start with those Cavs because, like I was saying earlier, in the first time these teams met, Kyrie wasn't healthy, Kevin Love wasn't healthy. Last year they were good to go. This year, though, the way they're playing in this postseason, it's been a bumpy road in the regular season, but you knew they would turn it up for the postseason. LeBron averaging 32.5, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. Kyrie with over 24 points per game. And Kevin Love having well over a double-double. If you were on the defensive side, how would you try to slow down this trio that the Cavs have?
Oh, it's a tough one. If you take the ball out of LeBron's hands, then Kyrie brings it up. And I think he's just a great one-on-one player and can create a shot and do what he can. And then Kevin is the ultimate role player, and he's really, taking back seat to the other two. But this guy is the best outlet passer. I heard Chris Webber call him Wes Unseld by mistake the other night on his outlets, and I can contest to that because I saw him as a senior in high school at those Nike academies. And so I think if you take the ball out of LeBron's hands, Kyrie can kill you. And then I think that LeBron just is too good and just won't let that happen. So I think the show will be ran by him. I think he'll distribute the ball where he needs to. The guy that's going to be the real factor or the X factor for me on the Cavs is I like the bench. They've done a lot to get more experience on the bench. But Tristan Thompson, I mean, if this guy can dominate the boards and get those extra possessions on the offensive end for him, that'll be the biggest difference because that'll help Cleveland in their field goal percentage, and I think that will help them maybe take this whole series to 7 and win it.
Now, you look at defensively for the Warriors, they're a very good defensive team. We all know that. But they got strong athletic guys as well. Andre Iguodala, we saw what he was able to do when he won the Finals MVP. Draymond Green always gets into somebody's head defensively. And this time around, what do you think will be the deciding factor with LeBron going up against Draymond and also Andre Iguodala?
Well, if you remember last year when Draymond got suspended for
cost
that
him the series.
Game, cost them the series, exactly. I totally agree with you. There's no question about it.
And also, I'll say Bogut going down with the injury because that took away another rim protector as well.
It did, and Bogut was a key player on that team. I mean, he didn't play a lot of minutes, but what he did was really evident, and just like you said, rim protector. So I don't think Jaja's got that kind of play in him. But I tell you what, that three-headed snake, and I'm scared that Klay Thompson's just going to come out firing with all this extra time to get in the gym and get his shot and rhythm. I think he's going to be a big factor in this series that will help Kevin and Steph take that on. But you're right, it starts on the defensive end. They got to stop LeBron. And, Iguodala, yeah, he's got another year on him. Yeah, he's a little bit older. He's got great legs and great body, so I'm not worried about that. And Draymond, he's got that swagger that the rest of those guys feed off of, and he's not afraid. When the time starts on the clock, he's the baddest dude out there. He's like a Rodman or a Mahorn in my day, or even a Lambeer. He's going to get in your face. He's going to try to intimidate you and do all of that. And if he can just keep his cool and not get flagrant stuff, he'll be the biggest thing that they didn't have in that Game 5 that really, like you said, cost them that series.
And I'll tell you, another thing that I thought cost them was last year they woke up the beast in LeBron when Klay started doing his chirping after they went up 3-1. I'm just going to say if Golden State goes up in this series at any point, they're going to do a little less talking until they win 4 probably this time around.
I think so, and I think Steve Kerr he's going to mention exactly what you just said. We got to keep our head, our mental focus and mental toughness is what's going to help us win this series. And if he's not on the bench, those guys still know that he's there supporting them. And what a great hiring, Mike Brown, coming as the head assistant. That was just a smart move on them last year, not knowing that Steve was going to go through all of this, but. Wow, he's just done a great job of subbing for Steve. So I think you're exactly right. I think that if they can just keep their mouth shut, and I'm a learner of that, man. I never talked to Michael Jordan because I did it once, and that he winds up with 55 points against us when I do stuff like that. So you got to be careful what you say. Just win with humility.
Describe the shot after all these years, because we all know that's what everyone remembers you for, even though you were a pretty darn good player yourself.
Well, we did something that we never really did. We had a timeout. They came out of their set up, and we kind of got what we knew what they were going to do, and so they didn't have much time. It was just a 20-second timeout to change anything. So you knew it was going to go to Michael. So we double-teamed the ball, or Michael, and when we double-teamed, if we wouldn't have, I think my defensive tenacity would have been a little bit more focused, but I kind of got laxed because Larry Nance was in the front of him and I was in the back of him, and we're not just going to let him catch the ball. But, he juked Larry to the right and went left, and I was all by myself, and I was standing up. And, the first thing they teach you from high school or little dribblers to high school or whatever in fundamental basketball is the defensive stance. And I wasn't in any stance. I wasn't sliding. What happened was he caught the ball and came back to the middle, and I was running. I wasn't sliding and being able to, stay in front of him, because if you watch it, he stops on a dime and goes straight up for his jumper, and then I kind of run by just like E.T., going across the moon, and that's exactly what happened. It's 30-something years almost that shot happened, and I see it over and over again, and it just ekes me that I just wasn't in a good defensive slide position where if I could have stopped and gone straight up with him, maybe I can test the shot a little bit better.
I think that's BS, and you probably watched it from every other angle. He got a hand in his face, and he just jumped out of the ceiling. He always says the ceiling is the roof now. His head probably would have hit the roof. I've never seen someone jump that high. You were right in his face.
I tell you, now I'm not going to say that I had the vertical that he has, but I mean, I could go off of one leg pretty good, and I'm long arms, so I got a lot of wingspan to do that, and you're exactly right, but if you just watch, I just go by him instead of straight up, and that's probably what gave him the look that he needed to knock down that shot.
Did you feel some vindication last year when they had the block and they also had the three-pointer by Kyrie? Just because, finally in the Cleveland Cavaliers highlight history, you won't be in there. You'll be a little bit further down on the list just because there'll be some positive things to show.
Yeah, I think my son showed me something that LeBron did on YouTube about the shot and how he remembers it, like someone painting a picture.
That's right.
And put the Angels. So you know that. And then every May 7th, someone usually calls me and has to bring it up. But what he said in his thing was great because he said, the history of the Cavs was the shot and us not making it further in the playoffs. But now we got the new shot, the Kyrie three-pointer that won the series for him last year. And right before that you're exactly right, was the incredible half-court run sprint that LeBron did to block Iguodala's shot. And, I was surprised Iguodala didn't try to dunk that. But I think he saw in the back of, that eyeball in the back of his head, he saw LeBron coming, so he was going to finesse it. And boy, it caught up with him. So, yeah, it changed history for the Cleveland sports fans, definitely, because now they can say something better about a shot that actually hangs the first banner up in their arena.
Hey, they still got to keep on mentioning you so you can afford the John Deere to get your lawn all good, right?
That's exactly right. And I'll tell you what, LeBron is great at that. Every time they wear retro uniforms or something, he's knocked down shots before. I've heard him say that's for Craig and that's for Mark
that's awesome.
And that's for Brad. So I think he includes us. And the Cavs organization, even though it's changed ownerships, Dan Gilbert is a great person, and he has a great thing going with the golf tournament every year that he invites all the people that played in Cavs uniforms back for. So they really include us in all of that. And I think it does start with LeBron, though, just because he was, home-born there.
Wrapping up with Craig Ehlo, who joins us right now on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920, The Jersey. I have a hard time seeing the Warriors lose this series. You never can count out LeBron James, but they almost won back-to-back with Steph Clay and also Draymond Green. Now they add in Kevin Durant. How about the Durant factor in this series?
That's going to be it. If the Warriors win this series, it's because Kevin made that decision as a free agent to join Clay and Steph. He's an incredible player. I can't tell you. And I just love the guy. Again, going back to those skills academies, I had Kevin as a senior in high school, and then he had his own name on a skills academy. And this guy is 6'10". When I saw him the first time in the gym, he was skinny and lanky and 6'9", and he was never with his back to the basket. He was always facing the basket, and he was taking three-pointers way back then, from deep. So, and his shot is just so smooth, and he's got a scorer's mentality. And I tell you what, he's an awesome person, and he'll compliment you on everything. He's a solid assassin, though. He's just quiet, and he knows how to speak and be articulate, but his jumper and his runners are all just unbelievable. And if you foul him, he'll make 16, 17 in a row.
You talk about knowing a lot of these guys when they were a lot younger before they turned into these transcendent players for the game. One of your former teammates, Del Curry, who I've heard you tell a story before, would used to shoot deer before walking into a practice. His son's pretty good, that Steph Curry.
Oh, this is incredible because Steph was born the first year that we had Dale with the Cavs when we traded, I think we traded Mel Turpin, of all people, for Dale Curry to the Utah Jazz. Who won on that? But, Steph was born the same year that my daughter was born. So I always tease Dale when I see him or talk to him that, I had a picture Steph from his baby, and I put it right by my daughter's bed and said, "Hey, this is the guy that you want to marry someday because he's going to be great." And sure enough, I'm prophetic, I guess. So, but Dale and Brad Doherty were gutting deer right there in the garage, right by our locker room every morning. Sometimes and Larry Nance was bringing fish in from his pond, and Hot Rod Williams was Hot Rod Williams. I mean, he was the Cajun on the team. So we had some characters on the team, but I was fortunate to get to know all these guys. And I remember when Steph was at Davidson, and he actually came as a counselor to the Skills Academies, walked in the gym early, and he was already down on the other end, and he wasn't shooting 30-footers when he first got out there. You know what he was doing? He was shooting one-handers right in front of the rim, just getting that follow-through and that touchdown. And that's exactly what Dale did, because Dale was a hell of a shooter too.
Craig, let me end the conversation on a serious note, just with what's going on with Tiger Woods. And you had your struggles with prescription medication. Just what's your reaction to what's happening to Tiger Woods right now?
The one thing, I'm going on 4 years now being clean and sober.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And this is a great opportunity. And thanks for bringing this up, because this is really an epidemic in America right now. But I tell you, the thing that keeps me clean and sober is I got a great support group. Obviously, my family first, but I got men in my life that I can call and talk if I ever have any doubts about how the day's going, or is something about I just want to escape, like I did with the prescription drugs. I just really believe that the AA philosophy works. You can't take a pill to change your addiction. You can't take something other than talking to somebody else that has gone through the same thing. And that's what I have. I go to meetings constantly. I believe that I'm going to be an addict the rest of my life just because of the behavior that you have. And the only way I can combat that is the AA way, and following the 12 steps and going to meetings and making sure that if something happens, that I talk before I do something. And I just don't think Tiger, probably in his situation, in his shoes, feels comfortable going to a meeting and sitting there and listening. And that's what you got to do. You got to go to these meetings. You got to sit and listen to other people that have beaten it and are going on, lots of years of sobriety. So I think with his celebrity status, it probably hurts him. And I feel like that's the only way an addict can beat any addiction is the AA way.
And I'd also have to imagine, I know he has a girlfriend right now, but he's no longer with his wife. It may be tough for him to find that help, but just looking at the video, I don't know if he's an addict or not, but there definitely is a problem when you get behind the wheel and, everyone's seen the video and you look that messed up. Yeah,
those eyes, and I mean,
scary.
I've been there. I know, I've been there, and it's scary because driving, you're not only putting yourself in harm, but you're going to probably harm someone else. And I hate to bring this up, but Mookie Blaylock is in jail right now, the point guard I played with in Atlanta, because of driving, under the influence and, actually killing someone. So he's paying the price for that. And that's what can happen. You got to get serious about what you're putting in your body.
Craig, thank you so much for the time. I can't thank you enough. Best of luck moving forward, and enjoy these finals that start tonight.
Oh, yeah, you got to call me back when Game 7's over. We'll have to talk about it and see who's going to win. I say Cleveland. I just say they're the champs. Warriors got to knock them off.
I'm going to go Warriors in 6, but we appreciate the time, Craig. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks, Zach. Appreciate it.
There's Craig Ehlo joining us on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. I do say that the Warriors win this series because I just have a hard time. And if there's one player that's going to do it, it's going to be LeBron. But I just have a hard time seeing Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green go down 4 times in a series. It's just hard to see, and I get it. The first time LeBron went to Miami and formed that super team, they didn't win. And the Mavericks won, and no one thought that the Mavericks were going to win, but they did win that series. And LeBron being an underdog, it's a tough thing to see because he's going to be at his best, and that's going to tick him off, even if he doesn't admit it publicly. but I just have a feeling the Warriors win this series. I would love to see Cleveland win because I don't like this Warriors team that much. I like Steph. I like Kevin Durant, but I don't like how Kevin Durant, and he had every right to leave, and I'm not mad at him for leaving, but I just don't love the fact that when you lose a series and you are up 3-1, then you just jettison to the other team. It doesn't personally annoy me. It's just something I'm just not a fan of to say. I would have liked to seen him say, but at the end of the day, he has every right to go to another team. That's why I don't knock him. Like when LeBron left, yes, I would have liked to see him stay in Cleveland the first time, but I didn't knock him because he has every right to do that. The person that really annoys me the most on this team is Draymond Green. That man is just, he's so loquacious. And his trash talking, it just annoys the heck out of me. It really does. And I love LeBron. I hope LeBron wins the series, but I just don't see it happening. Now, I'll go Warriors in 6. We'll give you some more explanation on that coming up later in the show. 609-919-9200. We'll get a poll update results as well. Good stuff out of Craig Ehlo. 4:41 is the time in the Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios. We'll take a break here on the Zach Gelb Show. Coming on back right after this, the Mets, we have a final score. We'll get to that. And we'll also talk some Tiger Woods. Coming up next, Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports, 920 The Jersey.